In this lecture, I will be discussing the various primary activities practiced worldwide. Primary activities are economic activities. Now, what are economic activities? We define economic activity as the actions that involve the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services at all levels within a society. Gross domestic product or GDP is one way of assessing economic activity and the degree of current economic activity, and its forecast for the future level can significantly impact the business activity and profits, as well as the inflation and interest rates. In other words, production, consumption and capital formation are called the basic economic activities of an economy. Scarce resources are used in the production of goods and services with the objective of satisfying our needs and wants. Some of the primary activities, secondary activities, tertiary, quaternary and quinary activities are: for the primary activities, we see that it is a resource based and an extractive activity. Secondary are manufacturing based activities. Tertiary are service based activities. Quaternary are knowledge based and quinary are intellectually based macro level activities. We will discuss a few primary activities. Precisely, primary activities are directly governed by the environment. It is worth mentioning people engaged in primary activity are called red collar workers due to the outdoor nature of their work. Let us now discuss a few primary activities practiced in the different parts of the world. Hunting and food gathering. Hunting and food gathering was humanity's first and most successful adaptation, occupying at least 90% of human history and until 12,000 years ago. All humans lived this way. But following the invention of agriculture, hunter-gatherers have been displaced or conquered by farming or pastoralist activities in most parts of the world. Hunting and gathering culture is also called foraging culture. Any group of people that depends primarily on wild foods for subsistence until about 12,000 to 11,000 years ago, when agriculture and animal domestication emerged in Southwest Asia, the people lived on animals they hunted and the edible plants they gathered. They hunted wild animals in the extreme hot and extreme cold climatic regions. The settlers in the coastal region lived on fishing. Food gathering is a primitive activity. The features of this activity are: it requires small amount of capital investment. Technology is almost absent. Yield per person is very low, with no surplus produced. The regions where gathering is practiced are northern Canada, northern Eurasia and southern Chile. All these regions lie in the zone of high latitude. Also, it is practiced in the low latitude regions of Amazon basin, tropical Africa and northern fringes of Australia. The early man gathered food and parts of plants for their use, also exchanged the products within their community. Remember, this activity is known as the barter system. But in modern times, this activity turned commercial and people gathered the parts of plants which were in demand in the market. A few products are quinine from the cinchona tree, tannin extract. Do you know the chewing gum is made from the milky juice of zapota tree? Well, there are many more products we get from the tree's plants like balata, rubber, etc. Some of the leaves and beans supply beverages to the market. Though this activity caters to the needs of the people, but on a very small scale, it can never compete in the world market as against synthetic products, which are available at a lower rate and a better quality. At present, this activity is confined to a few pockets of the world. Pastoralism. Pastoralism is the branch of agriculture concerned with the raising of livestock. It is animal husbandry, the care, tending and use of animals such as camels, goats, cattle, yaks, llamas and sheep. This map shows some of the communities practicing pastoralism in the world. This activity depends upon the geographical factors and the technological development. It is practiced either at subsistence or commercial level. Nomadic herding is a subsistence practice. People raise animals for their own food and move from place to areas of available pasture. Nomadic herding still exists in the world today in the areas of Northwest Asia, the Middle East, North Africa and the Arctic tundra. Here we get to see a few pictures where community practice this activity. The characteristics of nomadic herding are subsistence, traveling from one place to the other, foraging, and it covers a large area of the world. Few products enter into the world market, poor quality of livestock, inadequate diets for livestock and the people. Nomadic herding is a form of activity where livestock are herded in order to find fresh pastures on which to graze. True nomads follow an irregular pattern of movement in contrast with transhumans where seasonal pastures are fixed. However, this distinction is often not observed and the term nomad used for both. In historical cases, the regularity of movements is often unknown in any case. The herded livestock include cattle, yak, sheep, goats, reindeer, horses, donkeys or camels, or even mixed species of all. Nomadic herding is commonly practiced in regions with little arable land, typically in the developing world. Of the estimated 30 to 40 million nomadic pastoralists worldwide, most are found in Central Asia and some regions of West Africa. Increasing number of stock may lead to overgrazing of the area and desertification of land if it is not allowed to fully recover between one grazing period and the next. Evidently, overgrazing and desertification are the grave problems we face due to this activity. Increased enclosure and fencing of land has reduced the amount of land available to this practice. The herders rely on animals for food, clothing, shelter, tools and transport. A wide variety of animal is kept in different regions. In tropical Africa, cattle. In Sahara and Asiatic deserts, sheep, goats and camel are reared. In mountainous regions of Tibet and Andes, yak and llamas. In Arctic and subarctic areas, we rear reindeers. Let us now look at some of the major regions where it is practiced. The core region extends from the Atlantic shores of North Africa to the Arabian Peninsula into Mongolia and central China. The second important region lies in the tundra region of Eurasia. Also, pockets of southern hemisphere, we find people practicing in southwest Africa and Madagascar. It is interesting to know how a few specific tribes move from one place to another with their herds. The movement of herders from plain areas to the mountainous in summers and from mountainous areas to the plains in the winter season in search of pasture is known as transhumance. The tribes practicing transhumance in Himalayan region are the Gaddis, Gujars, Bakrawals and Bhotias. The pastoralism is diminishing with the imposition of the political boundaries and new settlement plans in different countries. Commercial livestock rearing. It is organized and capital intensive. It projects the Western culture. The ranches are huge land areas divided into small portions of land known as parcels. These are fenced and controls grazing. We see this type of agriculture in this picture. On a broader view, livestock refers to any breed or population of animal kept by humans for a useful commercial purpose. This can mean domestic animals, semi-domestic animals. Livestock are generally raised for profit. Raising animals, that is animal husbandry, is a component of modern agriculture. It has been practiced in many cultures since the transition of farming from hunter-gatherer lifestyles. Here the main emphasis is laid on breeding, genetic improvement, disease control and health care of the animals. The regions where it is practiced are broadly demarcated: New Zealand, Australia, Argentina and the United States of America. From the nomadic life to the beginning of the settled life, people adopted the cultivation of crops which improved their socio-economic conditions. Different methods of agriculture were used in different parts of the world. Agriculture was the key development in the rise of sedentary human civilization, whereby farming of domesticated species created food surplus that nurtured the development of civilization. The study of agriculture is known as agriculture science. The history of agriculture dates back thousands of years, and its development has been driven and defined by greatly different climates, cultures and technologies. However, all farming generally relies on techniques to expand and maintain the lands that are suitable for raising domesticated species. Subsistence agriculture. This type of agriculture is classified into two categories: primitive subsistence agriculture and intensive subsistence agriculture. Primitive farming is the oldest form of agriculture and still prevalent in some parts of the world. From primitive gathering, some people have taken a step upward on the economic ladder by learning the art of domesticating plants, and their economy has moved into primitive cultivation. This type of farming is done on self-sufficient basis, and farmers grow food only for themselves and their families. Some small surpluses may be either engaged by barter or sold for cash. The resultant economy is thus static with little chance of improvement, but there is high degree of rural independence because farmers are not tied to landlords or to trading centers. This form of agriculture is widely practiced by many tribes of the tropics, especially in Africa, in tropical South and Central America, and in the Southeast Asia. It is better known as shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation is practiced in tropics and many other parts of the world, and it is known by different names. Example, milpa in Central America and parts of Africa, roca in Brazil, masole in Zaire, bevar or poda in India, and shina in Sri Lanka. We can see some of the regions of the world in this particular map where shifting agriculture is still practiced. The forests are usually cleared by fire, and the ashes add to the fertility of the soil. Trees that are not burned are hacked out by the men or left to decay naturally. Shifting cultivation is thus also called slash and burn agriculture. The cultivated patches are usually very small and separated from one another by dense forest or bush. Cultivation is done with very primitive tools such as sticks and hoes, without the aids of machines or even draught animals. Much manual labor is needed in land clearance to produce food for a few people. Short periods of crop occupancy alternate with long period of fallowing. When the yields can no longer support the community because of soil exhaustion, the fields are abandoned and the fresh areas are cleared. This is field rotation rather than crop rotation, which is very common in the present world. Today in this lecture, we covered a few primary activities practiced in different parts of the world. In the next coming lecture, I will be dealing with intensive subsistence agriculture, the Mediterranean agriculture and mining activities. All these are the primary activities which are being practiced in different parts of the world.